Welcome to the TrueDeck and Sell That team's monthly market update for real estate in Northeast Florida. This is September 2023, and you'll recall perhaps in September we started really seeing a significant slowdown in real estate activity here in Northeast Florida. Let's take a look at how that impacted each county. In national news, you may have seen headlines like this one about a real estate related lawsuit that ended on Halloween in the favor of some plaintiffs who had taken issue with a real estate industry practice of sellers paying buyers agents commissions. These headlines contain really buzzy words like conspiracy amongst realtors or reference to the National Association of Realtors as a cartel. But I'd like to cut through all of that and really talk to you about what I think will happen as a result of this lawsuit and the two lawsuits that are coming behind it. So first, it's important to know that these lawsuits were filed 5 years ago, and a lot has happened since then, most notably the super sellers market. The super sellers market of 21 and 22 did more to disrupt the real estate industry than anything I think that these lawsuits will do. We saw proliferation of limited listing service providers during that time frame. What that means is, companies like Redfin or Assist to Sell will allow you to just hire them for pieces and parts of the listing process. So you could do some things on your own and hire for other things, bringing down your expense. We also saw iBuyers increase like OfferPad and Opendoor, which gives sellers an opportunity to sell much more conveniently and quicker for cash than if you went full service listing route. So little bit lower proceeds, but if your equity position was strong to begin with and you were looking for convenience, it was a good option. So what we saw were industry disruptors getting a foothold during that time frame, and I think that has done more to change the market than the lawsuits will. So long story short, I think we've seen a lot of the changes that this lawsuit and the others were hoping to introduce. Now, specifically on sellers paying buyer agent commission, it's a closing cost. And for a seller, closing costs just reduce their proceeds, right? But for a buyer, it's cash out of pocket. So if you don't have the money in the bank, it's hard for you to come up with those closing costs. So in most cases, sellers in the state of Florida pick up the closing costs. The only closing costs that they don't pick up are the closing costs related to the loan, usually. And sometimes they even pick up those as well. But traditionally, they pay for the title insurance and the deed stamps and most of the things that go along with the transfer of the property. And then the loan related closing costs are paid for by the buyer. In a situation where a seller opts not to pay for the buyer's agent commission, then the buyer has to pay that expense. So if you think about it from the same way that you think about any other closing costs, it's in the seller's advantage to build that into the purchase price, right? So when they don't, that means it's more cash out of pocket for that buyer. And in the market that I work with, first-time home buyers, they are the ones that need the most representation and can least afford that representation. So if I'm showing a first-time home buyer 3 homes and 2 of the sellers are willing to pay for my commission, but the third seller is not, When we sit down to review the closing costs, that is a real expense that the buyer is going to have to consider when making a final decision. And so it will have an impact. And there is an advantage to a seller allowing a buyer's agent to bring you a buyer and covering those fees. Um, it's always been built into the purchase price, and I believe it will continue. I don't think that we'll see a huge disruption as a result of these lawsuits. I think we've already seen it, and I think that there are great options out there to find alternatives to working with real estate agents if that's your preference. So, speaking of working with real estate agents, I love to work with investors and first time homebuyers, and really anyone who has a residential real estate need in Northeast Florida. But there are two ways that you can absolutely get FaceTime with me and other real estate professionals like me. The first Thursday of every month, I host a real estate investor group that meets here in St. Augustine. And then usually every other month, myself and Allie Schmidt host a Steps to Homeownership workshop targeted at first-time homebuyers to help you get started on your home buying journey. So if you're interested in participating in either of these events, please scan the QR code and come see us. And if you or anyone you know is interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate anywhere in Northeast Florida, TrueDat can sell that.